What's going on, everybody, and welcome once again to the Ollie Reed Sports Podcast, giving you the latest news and notes around the world of high school and college basketball across Mountain State and beyond. And man, it's been a while, but we're back on the pod once again. Just wanted to give you guys an update on how things are going. Obviously, we just wrapped up the state tournament last week. It was fun. It was a fun week. Getting to cover the state tournament is always a fun week covering the state tournament every year in Charleston, and it's always a good time getting to see all the other college coaches at the Division II level, and it's always really fun getting to see like everybody across the state of West Virginia. I was even telling somebody about this. It's like we see like guys from the Eastern Panhandle, the Southern West Virginia, North Central, Northern Panhandle. Like you'll literally see everybody. You'll literally see everybody in the state of West Virginia here, and it's just an unreal feeling, and I love it. It's probably the thing I look forward to the most every single year during basketball season, and it was just really fun. This has been a very fun year. This is kind of like a recap on how things have went this 2025-26 season for me. But yeah, like before I start, I mean, obviously I definitely want to say this was my first full year covering college basketball as well. As you saw, I went to most of the West Virginia home games this year, both for football and basketball. Basketball was Ollie Reed sports reasons, and for football, it's just photography reasons, since this is mainly a basketball account, and we'll only talk about basketball here on this show. I know I have like the platforms with the College Talk podcast and then the Don't Sleep Now and all that. That's still going to continue. Definitely going to continue on that. But yeah, man, it's been a pretty good, but like I said, my first full year covering college basketball though was overwhelming in a sense, just because, like, as I've covered college basketball before, but not this type of level before, like I have. And we traveled to a lot of places this year, and some we didn't go to, like Michigan and Louisville. And Louisville, I definitely wanted to see Isaac McNeely's last year playing college, but like I said, it was nice to see him compete at Louisville and finish his career there, and finish his career off at the round of 32 in the big dance. So, because Isaac McNeely's one heck of a player, a really good sharpshooter, and then just obviously I've already mentioned before, going to WVU home games this year was really fun. Getting to cover Ross Hodge in his first year at the helm as the Mountaineers head basketball coach, and went to Xavier for the first time in Cincinnati, getting to watch Rich Pitino take on Dan Hurley and the Yukon Huskies, which was an amazing experience. And shout out to Tom, Mr. Tom Eisler, the SID over there at Xavier, for allowing us to cover that event, cover that game on New Year's Eve. It was really fun, really amazing, humbling experience, getting to meet John Fanta. And we got to meet a couple other people, Rich Hollenberg, ESPN reporter, and again the announcer, and again, obviously, getting to meet Keem McClure. I think if we met him a year before we started doing this. So then obviously, like, covering WVU home games this year was a blast. Again, to see all the big names out of the Big 12, getting to see both Darren Peterson and AJ DeBonsa playing at Hope Coliseum, and it was a fun ride for sure, and never gonna forget those moments. But there was some like college games where I feel like this was kind of like not our speed, and by me saying that's like, well, we do cover like a lot of primarily West Virginia. We do primarily cover WVU athletics here, because this is a West Virginia branded media company. So we want to keep it that way, and definitely want to be more involved in that heading the next year. And that's something that I'm going to be planning on doing in the near future. And once AAU season is here, which it is now, that's whenever we're going to be doing like our national recruiting evaluations, which I am starting that up here. Going to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for our first stop in the AAU circuit at Pitt Jam Fest. in Pittsburgh, which is going to be in April. Uh, Somewhere like in the middle of April, was we'll be there for that. And then I don't have a full AAU list yet, but we're going to try to hit almost every single uh, high major Sioux Circuit event. Um, I was planning on going to my first EYBL event in Atlanta, but we do not have money for that. So we are going to be going to UAA in Spooky Nook, Ohio, for our first Sioux Circuit event in May, and then planning on going to Richmond, Virginia, the Watts the Pro 16 circuit in July, and then right after that, might go half and half with Nike UIBL Peach Jam, and also again to cover the Adidas Finals in Rock Hill, South Carolina, once again like we did last year, and just get to see all the high major recruits and some of the ones that don't get the much media attention like the other like top 100 players out there. So definitely going to be doing more of those recruiting evaluations. And obviously during the summertime, if there's going to be any live periods or camps, we'll be going to those as well. And definitely going to be checking out some talent there. So if there's any camps out there, definitely know I'll be there to recruit those kids and help those kids out, give them a platform. And then once the season starts rolling in, just still stay in West Virginia, because we didn't really cover that. I mean, obviously we covered some West Virginia high school basketball games, but we didn't really cover as much as we did last year. So that's something that I do plan on changing this year. So, but like I said, it was humbling. It was a humbling experience heading into year one, and like I said, year two will be even better. And that's the reason why I definitely wanted to, mention this to you guys live, because I just feel like this year I didn't feel like I did too much. I was inconsistent, and hopefully right now would be a fresh start. Excuse me, a fresh start. And I definitely want to give you guys, the latest information, latest intel of anything that's happening in West Virginia in terms of basketball, WVU basketball, and related news, and just any big news that's going on. I definitely want to keep you guys updated with that, because like I said, you guys deserve daily news from me, and I need to do better with that, and I will do better on that. So, but that's all I wanted to say about that. About my first full year covering college basketball, it was an amazing experience, and as I mentioned, I definitely want to talk about some experiences there. And while I'm on that, I'm going to bring Jagger Matheny along, who just stopped by. So, Jagger, how's it going, my man?
It's doing good, Ollie. I'm glad you brought me in tonight to talk about some college hoops and the season and what's going on now and what we think is going to happen.
Absolutely, dude. And I just want to get on to that. And I was just telling the audience here, talk about my first full year covering college hoops, and definitely want to keep you guys updated on everything around college basketball. Not really like too involved like all the other national media guys, but we definitely want to keep you guys updated as much as we can with all the latest intel that we have. But like I said, it was a very humbling experience for me. Probably the best experience going to a college basketball game at Division I level. Obviously, going to all those games at WVU were really awesome. Getting to see two of the best players in the league, like in the country, and both Darren Peterson and AJ DeBonsa. Either one of those guys is going to be the number one pick in this year's draft, which was an amazing experience getting to see those guys in person, and knowing in the year one for Ross Hodge still isn't over yet, because we still have the Crown Invitational. We got Stanford coming up next week, and we just got to see what to do from there. And hopefully the Mountaineers, try to do what Nebraska did last year, win the Crown, and then hopefully heading into year two, we might be in the NCAA tournament playing in the Sweet 16 like Nebraska is right now.
Yeah, and I think this Crown tournament's just a perfect opportunity for WVU. We get to play more basketball, and I don't think you can ever complain when you're playing any sort of postseason basketball into April. And I think this is a really good opportunity for WVU to end the year with good momentum, going into next year, and also just keeping some guys around that aren't graduating yet.
Absolutely, definitely want to get a couple more games in before our senior class leaves. Definitely mentioning Honor Huff, along with Trace Eaglestaff, Jasper Floyd, Harlan Obioha, Brennan Lorient, and I think is that all the seniors that I mentioned? I think that's all the seniors that we got, right?
I believe
Um,
so. Yeah,
all
Chance
right,
Moore.
so and Chance Moore, obviously can't
Yeah.
forget about Chance Moore. But yeah, it's just it was a pretty good year. Obviously, we did not make the tournament this year. I know everybody was kind of wanting that to happen. And some other media people like myself, we kind of expect that to happen in year one. But with with the mid-major roster that we constructed this year, I mean, it was kind of tough, especially in a Big 12 conference like this. It's very competitive, and everyone's trying to fight for a spot in the NCAA tournament, and not everybody from the Big 12 can make it. And um, and like I said, it's only year one. We just added an assistant like during the season, pretty much before the season even started, with Yusuf Ali, and he's one of the biggest recruiters that we have, and and I have a feeling like with the transfer portal coming in, once the season's over with, get a couple of guys. Obviously got to retain the players that you have to retain. Amir Jenkins and DJ Thomas. That's the start of it. You got to keep those guys, and then obviously Jackson Fields. You might most likely will get him back off of a redshirt year. Since I don't think he played more than like 9 games or whatever. I don't think he played that much since he was dealing with an injury. And then Morris Ugasuk, a bench piece that we can definitely need in the future. And then obviously you had some other talented freshmen who didn't really play this year, but could see some significant playing time next season with Jaden Forsyth and then Evans Barning Jr. Retaining those guys would be huge. And just getting a couple of solid pieces out of the portal would be really nice. A couple of high majors portal guys would be pretty nice. So, um, but yeah, I mean, obviously this year didn't really go too well to be planned. We didn't make it to March Madness. We definitely wanted that. Lost some games where I feel like we could have had. They put ourselves in a situation where we could have been in the tournament. But like I said, this is a year one staff. This is a mid-major constructed roster, and I have a feeling with if you're a year seasoned with these guys, and if you have these guys coming back with adding a key additional transfer portal pieces heading into year two, that it should be pretty good heading into 2026, 27.
Yeah, and I think this year was a year full of a lot of ups and a lot of downs. Like you
Yeah.
said, there's a couple games that we lost that you felt like we could have won. Games that I look back at the most are at home against Baylor and at home against Utah. Those two, I think, really hurt us. It's no disrespect to those two teams, but you're playing two of the bottom tier teams in the league on your home floor, and those are wins you got to have. You're at home, you're fighting for your tournament chances, but at the same time, we had a lot of really important wins. We swept UCF, we swept Cincinnati. We had home wins against BYU and Kansas, who both potentially have the number one and number two overall picks, probably the best players in the country. So I think with what Coach Ross Hodge had, in my opinion, I still think that he overachieved with what he had. I think that a lot of other coaches, they probably couldn't have done this. And, I know there were some tough losses in there, but if you just throw two or three more, we might still be playing in the NCAA tournament right now, potentially.
I agree, and yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it right in the head there. I feel like Ross Hodge did kind of overachieve with this roster. I mean, no one like outside of the media here, like outsiders thought that we wouldn't even, make it into the like outside like the top 10 of the Big 12, and we did just that. We got a bye in the Big 12 tournament. Um, Fortunately, we didn't get the job done against BYU in that Big 12 in the first round. Well, I don't know how that tournament goes, but like I said, getting that bye in that tournament was a key piece of like we did well in the Big 12, like you mentioned, with those key wins over Kansas and then over try to figure like the other teams. We swept UCF and obviously we swept Cincinnati, which were huge because two of those teams even though Cincinnati didn't do so hot in the beginning of the year, at the end of the year with Wes Miller, they were doing very, very good. And I'll get to Cincinnati basketball here in a minute. And then you have Central Florida, who also had a big year at the start of the season. And then at the end of the year, they kind of started dropping low a little bit. And then we ended up sweeping them both on our home court and then playing them at Central Florida. I mean, playing them at home for our last game of the regular season and ended up winning that. So, but yeah, it was big. It's huge for us. It was huge for WVU to get those wins. But at the end of the day, yes, you can't drop those games to Utah and Baylor on your home court, especially in the fashion that we did. Um, but I think that's something that we can clean up heading into year two. And the overachieving part, yes, I mean, we did kind of overachieve with those big wins that we had. I mean, we beat Kansas, beat BYU on our home floor. And I mean, even though BYU, Kevin Young is also in this is his second season, going into
Yeah, I
third,
think so. I'm pretty sure second.
and then they're getting they're still getting high major guys. They got Bruce Branch coming in next year, who's kind of like AJ Debonsa 2.0. Luckily, I got to see this kid play last July in Rock Hill, and he was solid playing for Compton Magic. So, I mean, BYU's still going to continue to get better. Cincinnati is also going to get better with Jared Calhoun. Like I said, I'm going to get to him in just a minute. And then, with WVU heading into the Crown, hopefully end up, if they win against Sanford, they'll play either Creighton or Rutgers. And then obviously if they win against that team, then they'll move on to the championship and play whoever there. So, but yeah, like I said, I mean, the doesn't matter like what this season has come to. I mean, what the season was been for the regular season. I feel like we did kind of overachieve a tiny bit, but there still needs work to be done as well.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, there's definitely work that needs to be done. And I think with what we have going forward with the high school recruits we have coming in, and if we can retain two or three of the guys that we currently have that aren't graduating, I think there's a lot of things to like going into year two in the Ross Hodge era. I think we saw his potential with the roster we have now, and I think if you add better pieces next year going into the year, I think he can do bigger and better things, and I think he can. That's really what can turn the corner with the fan base, and he can really get the fans on board with what he's doing and make them believe in him.
And definitely talk about one of those big pieces coming in. How about Miles Sadler, top 25 point guard, top 25 player in the country, just won the EYBL Scholastic League for Bella Vista Prep. He's Nike EYBL Offensive MVP. I think he was like they named the actual MVP of that league as an undersized guard, and that's kind of unheard of in a big league like that. So, so Miles Sadler already having a big senior year and honestly should be a McDonald's All-American. Personal opinion, he did kind of get snubbed there, but no discredit to anyone who got picked ahead of him. But my gosh, I mean, Miles Sadler, man, I think he is going to be the future of this program. He's a really great defender. I can't wait to see what Ross Hodge and will do to help his game out for next season because he'll most likely be a starter as a freshman, filling the point guard void that Jasper Floyd left. And, we got Kingston Whitty coming in as well. And we have Alou Diom, Sadler's teammate from Bella Vista Prep, big 6'10", 6'11", freshman forward coming in, upcoming freshman for next season. So our freshman class is really looking very elite this year with Miles Sadler leading the way. But yeah, and for those of you guys who don't know, we are getting Ross Hodge on the podcast as soon as the Crown Invitational is said and done, and once the season is completely over with. And definitely want to talk to him before we get into the recruiting portion to see who we're going to get for 2027 next season. So, well, the year after, I would say. So, very excited for that, and hopefully we get some more college coaches on here as well. That'll be all in the College Talk podcast. So, if you guys haven't seen that, make sure you guys go check out the playlist on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/PollyReedSports. So, moving on here on the coaching carousel, as what I wanted to get to. And the first person I definitely want to mention is Coach Jared Calhoun. He is now going to be the head coach at Cincinnati after leading Utah State to an NCAA tournament appearance, won their first game, and they made it to the round of 32, giving Arizona a very good contest. And obviously, for West Virginia guys, know who he is. Jared Calhoun was a former assistant under Coach Bob Huggins at Cincinnati and at West Virginia. Then he was a Division II head basketball coach at Fairmont State, and led that team to a Division II title game appearance in 2017, and was a head basketball coach at Youngstown State before taking the job at Utah State. And now he finally gets a job, a Power 5 conference job um, at Cincinnati. So, Jagger, just wanted to get your thoughts on this. I know you're a big Fairmont State guy. You've gotten to meet Coach Calhoun in the past. So, your thoughts on Coach Calhoun finally getting the Power 5 job at
Yeah,
Cincinnati?
just just so happy for him. I don't think this could come to a better coach and a better guy. I've like you said, I'm a big Fairmont State guy. I was watching his teams, and if you want to talk about a winner, like he defines a winner. He's won everywhere he's gone. When he was at Fairmont, he led them, like you said, to the D2 title game in 2017. He won Mountain East Coach of the Year for 1 year. I think it was that
Mm-hmm.
year.
Yep.
Horizon Lake Coach of the Year with Youngstown State, and this year Mountain West Coach of the Year and NCAA tournament appearance. And like you said, he gave Arizona everything he wanted. So I think Calhoun, or excuse me, I think Cincinnati hit right on with this hire, and I think this in the long run is going to be a great hire. I think Calhoun is going to succeed at Cincinnati and in the Big 12, and I think if he has the resources, then he can do what it takes to win.
I agree. And, I feel like Cincinnati's NIL definitely bolsters a lot of talent. Wes Miller brought in a lot of talent in his last few years at Cincinnati. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him. He is now the head basketball coach at Charlotte now. They already had his press conference today, as I watched that as well. And I'm really excited for Wes Miller on his journey over there, and wish him the best of luck. But Coach Calhoun, yes, I know he has some West Virginia ties. Ronnie Newsom and him are good friends. That's what he's told me. He's really connected with the Rain, and so really still a West Virginia connection there. I love seeing that. Um, Never got to meet Coach Calhoun, but hopefully during the spring and summer, hopefully I'll get to meet up with him and talk about pick his brain on recruiting and stuff like that to help his team succeed. But that just makes the Big 12 even better. I mean, I love seeing Coach Calhoun back at the Power 5 ranks once again. This time he gets to lead a Power 5 program. And what better way to do it than in his home state of Ohio and Cincinnati? And that's basically where he got his start as a student assistant under Coach Huggs, and seeing that West Virginia connection there with him, and Ohio connection, since Bob Huggins is originally from Ohio. But getting to see that is just really amazing to see, and there must be some water over there, if over in Fairmont, because now you got Joe Mazzulla, who's went NBA champion for the Celtics, and you got, because he came in after Calhoun left, so a lot of success over there in the Fairmont State basketball tree, and but like I said, happy for Coach Calhoun. This is long overdue. He definitely deserves a Power 5 job. I was surprised he didn't get one sooner, but I'm now glad that he's got it now in Cincinnati, and I think he's going to turn that program around.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned Coach Mazzola as well, Fairmont. I think
Mm-hmm.
when you look at Missoula and Calhoun both, it just shows that, the standard at Fairmont has always been winning. And both of them were successful at Fairmont, and now both of them are successful where they're at. Coach Missoula is an NBA champion, Coach of the Year, and now we have Calhoun getting his first Power 4 job at Cincinnati. And like I said, I think they're both just great coaches, great guys, and I'm happy that, I was connected with them at one time, and I knew who they were, and I met them. So yeah, like I said, it just means a lot personally to me.
I was connected with Missoula whenever he was at Fairmont State, because I remember as soon as I graduated high school, actually, I was planning on going to Fairmont my freshman, like after my senior year. And, I talked to Missoula. We talked for a little bit, and he was a really good person. He's obviously a really great human being, and man of faith as well. Getting to talk to him and his insights on the game was just truly inspiring to me, and kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to start media stuff. And you know, it's just really and Coach Calhoun, obviously with the West Virginia ties and everything, it's really huge for the state and really great for the MEC because the MEC, the Mountain East Conference, is, in my opinion, the best Division II basketball conference in the country. And getting to see those two succeed is just something that is just really amazing to see. So, and then coaching carousel, other carousel news. Another Big 12 coaching job. Randy Bennett from St. Mary's is replacing Bobby Hurley as the next head basketball coach at Arizona State, and he's most likely going to bring most of his St. Mary's players in. So the Big 12 just got even better with that. Brian Hogston from South Florida is the new head coach at Providence. He just had his press conference yesterday. I feel like Providence is going to get better. And, it's definitely good for the Big East Conference. I'm a true blue Big East fan. I grew up watching West Virginia play in the Big East Conference. And, it's really nice to see Providence getting the big white shark, as they call him over there. So Brian Hogston to Providence. Trying to feel like there's a other. Oh, right. And of course, the biggest one of them all is the North Carolina job, where Hubert Davis and UNC have parted ways yesterday. And now we're just trying to figure out who's going to be the next head coach. People are speculating it's going to be Dusty May. People are speculating it's TJ Otzelberger. The top target, or people are saying, is Billy Donovan from the Chicago Bulls, which the Bulls haven't been doing so great. People have been telling me it's kind of a messed up organization. You can't even really win the NBA anymore. With that organization anymore, for the way things have turned out. And but yeah, all signs are kind of pointing to Billy Donovan being the next head coach at UNC, and he was the former head basketball coach at Florida. He's been in the NBA for a while now. So just wanted to get your thoughts on that, and what's this? Who do you think will be the next head basketball coach at UNC?
Yeah, and I've heard so many names over the last 2 days. Like you said, Dusty May, TJ Otzelberger, Ben McCollum is another one I've heard. Like you said, Billy Donovan. I'm trying to think of other ones, but there's a whole list of names I've heard, and all of them are big time coaches at big time schools. So it's really going to be interesting to see if North Carolina makes the calls to 3 or 4 of those guys who are already doing well at big schools. Another one I heard was Tommy Lloyd at Arizona, and you see what he's doing right now. So I'm really interested to see if they make those calls or if they, wait and find someone else. But in my opinion, I think my first call would be Billy Donovan. He was successful at the college level. He won 2 titles at Florida. And like you said, he hasn't done a whole lot in the NBA, but I think him coming back to college, and not only coming back to college, but a place like UNC who has the money and the resources to win, I think that'd be the perfect fit, and that would be my first call.
I agree. And, Billy Donovan, he's a veteran coach, been in the NBA for over a decade. If I can remember correctly, I think he was the head coach at Oklahoma City, and then he was the head coach in Chicago right now, currently. And obviously, he was the head coach of Florida, where he won back-to-back titles for the Gators. And, it would be good for college basketball to see a veteran college coach who was very successful be brought back into college, who bring him back from the NBA and bring him from the NBA to college would be pretty awesome to see. And then Tommy Lloyd, trying to talk about Tommy Lloyd for a second. I saw a report where he was just talking to the reporters, because Arizona's about to play in the Sweet 16, which the Sweet 16 games we'll talk about here in a minute, as I'm about to look it up here. Tommy Lloyd, looking up here on X. Tommy Lloyd on the North Carolina opening. I already have one of the best jobs in the country. One thing we talk about all the time is the ability to have full focus and be present in the moment. I think we have a chance to advance in this tournament. This team deserves my full focus. There is not one thing that's going to knock me off that path. So I don't know. I guess that's not technically a no. So I'm assuming that Tommy Lloyd is kind of interested in that job. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, it's North Carolina. They do have one of the better resources out of any college basketball program in the country, and it's one of the bluest of the bloods in college basketball. Who wouldn't want to take that job? I mean, North Carolina was one of the teams that I considered the highly elite, along with Duke and Kansas. That's kind of like my top three. I mean, who wouldn't want that job? I mean, they have the resources, they have the donors. And it's one of the richest programs in all of college basketball. So what I'm saying is like, who's not going to want that job? Anybody's going to want that job. I know it's the ACC, but the ACC has gotten a lot better than it has been in years past. They were certainly a lot better this year than they were last year. Because last year was kind of we already knew who our favorites were. But then you got Ryan Odom, who changed the program at Virginia after the couple downfall years that they had. And then you have Jay Lucas, who literally turned Miami, Florida around after Coach Larinaga retired. So I don't know. Like I said, and Louisville with Pat Kelsey turning stuff around at Louisville after what happened under Kenny Payne. I mean, the ACC is becoming a better conference, and I don't think, and especially with North Carolina being one of the highest of the highs there, I can literally see anyone turning down. I can't see anyone turning that down. If anyone's going to offer, I mean, some people will. They're depending on their resources, like Dusty May, for example. They have the best resources in the Big Ten. Michigan has the best resources in the Big Ten Conference. I can't see Dusty May leaving a high institute like Michigan for North Carolina just because he's already built that program to what it is right now, and they're going to continue to get better over him under his leadership. And I don't know, it's just Billy Donovan does kind of look like my favorite for now, just because the Chicago Bulls are not doing so great. The organization's not treating him well there. Maybe, I don't really know. Just from what I've been reading, that's the organization's just not going as great as it used to be. Like, it's not Michael Jordan days anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I do hope that UNC finds the perfect candidate for this job. Could be Billy Donovan, could be Tommy Lloyd. Those are kind of like my two options right now, but it's kind of hard to choose from. But yeah, if North Carolina's open, I know they're gonna get one of the best coaches out there, and if they do end up getting Billy Donovan, I mean, I'm not gonna be a bit surprised.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like you said, it's one of those things where it's like who's going to be the one they call that turns it down. You know, like you said, maybe it'll be Dusty May, could be Tommy Lloyd. We're not for sure about him, but this is mainly a personal opinion and a name that I haven't heard come up. But I think a name that should be considered and someone else you should call is Grant McCasland from Texas Tech. I think, I know this year they only made it to the round of 32. I'm sure they would have liked to have gone further, but you catch they play Alabama, you catch them on a crazy shooting night, and plus you lose probably an All-American and JT Toppin, in February, and you lose him for the rest of the year. You don't have him in March, so it's hard to win without him. And like I said, that's no diss to Texas Tech and McCasland, but I think that's someone else that I'd strongly consider, and I think he'd fit the job.
I agree. And then Mark Byington from Vanderbilt is also a good name. You've seen Vanderbilt, that's another program I forgot to mention. Well, they're not in the ACC, obviously, but they're in the SEC. And you've seen how Mark Byington changed the program there over the past 2 years that he's been at the helm. I mean, Mark Byington also wouldn't be a surprise either,
Yeah.
because, he's a really great coach. He can recruit there. And I think Vanderbilt's starting to get better resources now. So I don't know. It could be either one of them. I don't know. But as of right now, I think from what I've been hearing, Billy Donovan is kind of the top target right now. And like I said, if he does leave bottom tier NBA organization job, I hate even saying that because Chicago. I love Chicago. I'm a Michael Jordan fan and a Bulls fan. Just because of I'm a Bulls fan because of Michael Jordan and Derrick Rose first and foremost. But yeah, just don't really like seeing the Bulls, being kind of a downgrade to North Carolina. But, if you're not going to win the NBA, then going to North Carolina would probably be the best thing, and just to get your confidence back in coaching. And it does kind of have like a professional esque to it now, just because with the NIL that North Carolina possesses. And then obviously you can get, anybody who's in the portal, you can get high level guys to come join you. And like you said, you already have enough resources and the name brand to go along with it. And you get a proven NBA coach as your head coach at North Carolina with the resources that it has. North Carolina is going to be back on top if Billy Donovan does end up coming back. That's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, and I think, like I said too, and I think we're pretty much on the same page with that. I think Billy Donovan would be the one that fits the job the most. And, I think if he really wants to win something big, I think at this point he has a better shot of winning a national title at UNC and making a Final Four than he does, go making some playoff run with the Bulls in the NBA. And like you said, college is there's so much money involved now that it's pretty much it feels like it's a professional sport. And
Mm.
I feel like winning a national title now compared to 20 years ago means more than it did back then. So I think there would be nothing wrong with him accepting that job, and I think it makes perfect sense.
Yes, sir. But that's like kind of the coaching carousel news that we really have. I know I wanted to go in the Sweet 16 predictions, but I forgot to mention West Virginia recap. Definitely wanted to mention the state title games. I know you were there for half the state title games for AAA and Quad A, with Chapmanville and North Marion, and then GW taking on Spring Mills. It's, oh my goodness. First and foremost, that game is probably one of the best state tournament games I've ever witnessed. I mean, the state championship game over there between Spring Mills and GW is probably the best state championship that I've seen in all the 4 years that I've covered the state tournament. And that includes the Sharon Young 3-pointer. I mean, double overtime game. Both offenses were firing on all cylinders. Equazi was going off. And there were some kids that I didn't even know from Spring Mills that can really ball out like that. Chase Jones, for example, Tyler Jones's brother. I think they're brothers. Really lengthy kid, class of 28, really solid. Um, has size to him. I think he's going to I think if he develops his game, he's going to be real dangerous next year. And then Kines Stovall was an unknown coming in the state tournament. He just blew my mind. 3-pointer after 3-pointer. And it happened in the Morgantown game when Spring Mills shot 65% from the field and like 70% from three for that whole game. I've never seen a shooting performance like that in the Charleston Coliseum. I've never seen anything like that. So definitely awesome to see that. And but that state championship game against GW, Noah Lewis having an amazing game. Dominic Sprouse also having an amazing game. But yeah, like I said, I'm kind of left speechless there. Best state championship game that I've ever witnessed. And then North Marion and Chapmanville is a really good game. North Marion kept up with Chapmanville for most of the game, but Chapmanville ended up winning in the end. Eli Sankum obviously going off in his final game at Wheeling Central as they knocked off Wyoming East in the AA final, and then Tug Valley and Braden Ferris going for the three-peat for Tug Valley, knocking off Greater Beckley Christian. So it was a great state championship day last Saturday. And I definitely am going to be giving out my all tournament team here in the next couple of weeks. That's going to mention like a lot of kids, so I feel like should be getting recruited. So the college coaches, to make sure you guys stay tuned in for that. But it was a really fun state tournament week last week, and those state championship games were definitely something else to watch.
Yeah, there's not a better feeling in this world than being in the Charleston Civic Center during the state championship games. And I'm not going to comment on the first two because I didn't see them, but I was there for the AAA game and the Quad A game, and they were both fantastic games. You start off with Chapmanville and North Marion, and I just want to give a quick shout out to North Marion's head coach, Stephen Harbert. I thought he coached a phenomenal game, and I understand North Marion gave up size, but for the size they gave up, I thought they made up with it really well. They had a great game plan, and I thought they executed it. But credit to Chapmanville. You know, they're a good team too. They got a lot of big guys, and I thought they used that well to their advantage. So that was another really good game. But yeah, the quad A game was just something else. Like you said, Equazi was going off, and Noah Lewis, and that's everything you want in a state championship game. And you know, shout out to GW. They finally got their ring, and much deserved to them. And someone else that I was a little unaware of. I knew about him, but I really know about him now is Dom Sprouse. 12 for 12 from the free throw line, I'm pretty sure is what it was. And I mean, in that kind of game and environment, just talk about clutch and ice in your veins. I mean, he had it that game, and just great game from him.
Yeah, I know. I mean, haven't seen anything like that. Haven't really seen a free throw performance like that in a state title game like that before. And Dominic Sprouse only being a sophomore doing that is something that is highly unlikely. Unlikely seeing that from a high school sophomore. And Dominic Sprouse is a really great basketball player, and he's already getting looked at by some highly Division II teams. Fairmont State, for example, I know was like one of the first teams to offer him like before his sophomore season started. And I know he's got a couple of offers on the table at the D2 level other than FSU. And who knows? Maybe some D1 coaches will be looking at him here after that. Once AAU season comes up. And then obviously I made a post about both Eli Sankum and Noah Lewis, just thanking them for what they gave, just giving their hearts out for all 4 years in high school basketball in West Virginia. And I know both those guys are playing Division I hoops next year with, Eli Sankum going to Liberty and then Noah Lewis going to Wright State, which hopefully I'll be able to catch at least one game next season for those guys. You already know for the guys in Lynchburg, I forgot to mention this. Lynchburg was probably the best experience that I've ever had at a college basketball game, like outside of WVU. Liberty, was so accommodating whenever I was there. Getting to talk to Richie McKay, who offered a question for me, and then getting to see Caden Matheny in his last game at Liberty Arena was so surreal. And yeah, definitely want to give a shout out to all my good friends over in Lynchburg. Definitely want to see you guys again. Hopefully, I get to see y'all before the season starts, and hopefully get to come in for a game like I did this year and heading into next year. So, and then obviously Noah Lewis, Wright State. I think, oh my goodness, both those kids are so terrific, both on and off the court. And like I said, I really wish the best for their careers moving forward. And I think they're going to show West Virginia. I think they're going to show everybody at the Division I level what they're really all about and what West Virginia high school basketball is about. Because I believe we have some of the most underrated talent in the country, and it shows day in and day out. It's not even just basketball; it's football, cross country, track and field, swimming, and obviously our rifle team winning a national championship at WVU. I mean, we got everything, man. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, West Virginia has a lot of underrated high school talent, and it just shows on a daily basis, I think.
Yeah, just like you said, happy just to see what those guys can do, and looking forward to seeing what Eli and Noah can both do at the D1 level, and just hoping that they can put West Virginia on the map. You know, you saw what Isaac McNeely did in 4 years, 3 years at Virginia, his last year, this past year at Louisville, and he had a great college career. He turned out to be one of the best shooters, if not the best shooter in the country. Last year when he entered the portal, there were multiple high level schools after him, like it was when he was in high school being recruited. And
Mhm.
I think Isaac lived up to the hype, if not more. So, look, like you said, just excited to see what Noah Lewis can do, excited to see what Eli Sankum can do, and just hoping they can make a name for themselves.
Absolutely. I definitely want to see Isaac McNeely play his college game, but like I said, still wish him the best of his career moving forward, and definitely owe people at Louisville a basketball game next year for sure, and definitely owe Sharon Young one too, because I wanted to see him play, and I didn't get a chance to see him play in person this season. But next season, I definitely owe him one for sure. But let's just move on to our final thing. We're about almost 45 minutes in here, so I'm going to make this short and sweet. Speaking of sweet, NCAA Sweet 16 predictions. We got tomorrow. Tomorrow's games consist of Texas and Purdue. at 7:10. Then we got Iowa and Nebraska, two Big Ten matchups at 7:30. Arkansas and Arizona at 9:45. And then 10:05, we got Illinois and Houston. Oh man, Texas is on fire right now. Sean Miller's done a pretty good job, but obviously Purdue is a really good team as well. But even though we don't technically have like a real true blue Cincinnati team, I would love to see Texas win just because they're an underdog, and I always root for the underdogs. So give me the Longhorns over the Boilermakers. Definitely got to show love to Matt Painter though. Um, Iowa and Nebraska. Well, there's another one right there. No one thought that Iowa would beat Florida in the round of 32, but they did. They're taking on the Nebraska team. Like as I've already mentioned, they won the crown last year. Now this year they're a 4 seed playing in the Sweet 16. But Ben McCollum and his Hawkeyes are red hot right now, and it wouldn't surprise me if Iowa gets a dub there and moves on to the Elite Eight. And then we got Arkansas and Arizona. I want to say Arizona was my national championship pick, so definitely want to go with the Wildcats. Arizona has a really great team this year. Arkansas, even though they have one of the best freshmen in the country in Darius Acuff, and obviously John Calipari is a Hall of Fame coach, but I'm going to go with the Wildcats there. And then, of course, Illinois and Houston. Got to go with Houston. Can't sleep on them. So, going to go with the Cougars there. And then Friday, we have St. John's and Duke. That Patino versus Shire is going to be interesting. Michigan, Alabama, NATO's versus Dusty May. UConn, Michigan State, which I'm very excited about that one. Hurley versus Izzo. They're both really good friends. And then Tennessee and Iowa State as well. So very interesting Sweet 16 games, man. I don't even know what to choose from that Friday matchup. I mean, those games are insane.
Yeah, and I think Thursday and Friday both are gonna. There's gonna be a lot of must see matchups. The ones that I have circled particularly is Arizona and Arkansas. You know, two really high level, fast paced, moving offenses. I think. I mean, that could be a game where both teams score 100 points. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, just really impressed with Darius Acuff. You know, he's another freshman that's put the country on notice this year, and I think he has the potential. I'm going to say it now. He go number one overall in the draft. I've heard a few others say it, but I don't think it's a crazy take, and I think he definitely has what it takes to be there. And it's hard to go against him, but I got Arizona like you do, Ollie, in the title game. I have them winning it, so I'm still gonna stick with Tommy Lloyd and the Wildcats. But for the night game tomorrow night, Illinois and Houston, I got to go with Kelvin Sampson again. I got him back in the title game where they were at last year, and I got them tomorrow night. And Friday, another bunch of really good games, and like I said, I think it's going to be must see TV.
Yeah, St. John's and Duke is one I'm really looking forward to. Um, Duke has a lot of great talent, and St. John's also has a lot of great talent. I honestly don't know which one to pick from there. UConn, Michigan State, that'll be a big matchup. I still feel like the Huskies will get the job done. That's because I like Dan Hurley. I like his style of play. Michigan State is definitely a very big competitor, but I feel like UConn has that championship pedigree, especially with Dan Hurley as one of the recent coaches in this field that's won back-to-back titles. So gonna have to take the Huskies on that one. Michigan, Bama, definitely owe Michigan a game. If not, I'll get to see them in the offseason. But definitely got to root for Dusty May and the Wolverines. I think they have enough skill and enough talent to beat Bama. St. John's at Duke. Hate to do this to Coach Pitino, but I feel like the Blue Devils, I think they're one of the best out there. And I think I had Duke all the way into the Final Four. So I'm going to take the Blue Devils there. And then Tennessee and Iowa State, very tough matchup. Um, I don't really know. Rick Barnes, like I said, really good coach. I don't know if his team has what it takes to make it to the Final Four this season. So I'm going to go with Otzelberger and Iowa State. I feel like Iowa State's a really good team. I know they're without Joshua Jefferson, but Coach Otzelberger mentioned that he's making great. I think he's getting a lot better now, and hopefully he'll be able to dress tomorrow. Excuse me, Friday for that matchup. But I still feel like Iowa State will get the job done over the Vols on Friday night.
Yeah, and I think Friday I like St. John's to beat Duke. I'm really I really like Patino and I like his style. They didn't play great against Kansas. They didn't shoot the ball great, but
Hmm.
I'm a firm believer in basketball that you don't shoot great 2 nights in a row, and that you don't have, or sorry, I guess 2 games in a row, and you also don't have bad shooting games 2 games in a row. So that's why I like St. John's to beat Duke. I think defensively they're just gonna play smash mouth basketball, and I think it's gonna get the job done. In terms of Tennessee and Iowa State. I like Iowa State top to bottom more than Tennessee. Like you said, hopefully we can see Josh Jefferson back for that game. I like UConn over Michigan State. Dan Hurley, like you said, he's got the championship pedigree. It seems like every year UConn peaks in March, and it's hard to go against them. So give me the Huskies. And then Michigan and Alabama. I think that game can be similar to Arizona and Arkansas. A lot of points scored, fast paced
Hmm.
basketball, but I like Dusty May to get the job done.
I agree, man. It'll be very interesting to see these next couple of days, but we'll keep you guys updated on that heading into next week. But that's just going to wrap up the podcast. Here is currently 9:31 p.m. Eastern time here, as we are recording this here on a Wednesday night on March 25th. So hopefully our predictions are correct, and like I said before, we'll keep you guys updated on the transfer portal, coaching carousel, on all of our social media platforms. That's at Ollie Reed Sports. So make sure you guys go like and subscribe to the YouTube channel for the latest updates on that. And very excited to see what's next to come for the Ollie Reed Sports brand. We are looking for sponsorships, in-state sponsorships here in the North Central West Virginia area as well. So if you want any business from me or any offers as well, so make sure you guys reach out to me um, on social media anytime you want to DM me. Please let me know. That's going to be Ollie Reed Sports at OLLYREED Sports. So that's OLLYREED Sports. But once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We got almost 50 viewers here tonight. So appreciate you guys for those of you who joined via on X or on YouTube. So I'm gonna try to keep you guys updated as possible. Now that the season is over with, definitely gonna be a lot more active on here now. So and definitely want to keep you guys updated on any AU events that I'll be going to throughout the rest of the spring and summer as well. And like I said, we'll be with you along the way on this journey. So that's going to do it for me, along with Jagger Matheny. This is Ollie Reed Sports here, signing off on the Ollie Reed Sports podcast.